Hello again, folks. For those of you new to the channel, I'm the Grouchy Old Patriot. This is an episode of Coffee with the Grouch. For those of you new, welcome. For those of you who've seen me before, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Today I want to talk about something that has come up recently. We had a shooting in a mall, and I know this is YouTube and I'm not supposed to use that word, but hell, I've only got a few subscribers, so I doubt they're going to demonetize me. I'm not worried about that. And we had a young man who from 40 yards with a handgun put 8 out of 10 rounds into a moving target. Pretty damn good at shooting. You know, when this country was founded, first battles we had were at Lexington and Concord. We didn't have a standing army, didn't have a Marine Corps, didn't have a Navy. The armed citizen who formed the militia were the first ones to stand up against the British. People don't realize it, but at the time the British were marching from Boston, headed to Concord to seize weapons, because they were afraid of what an armed populace was capable of. The Minutemen that stood up at Lexington Green and at Concord, and then the ones that came in and fought the British, harassed them all the way back to Boston. Most of them weren't trained soldiers. The vast majority of them weren't trained soldiers. They were farmers and blacksmiths and farriers and carpenters. You know, they were your neighbor. They were your fellow member in your church congregation. There were even a couple of preachers that stood up and bore arms. One of my favorite quotes, I don't know if it's a true quote or if it's just something they put in a movie, but Reverend was asked why he was marching off with the militia, and he replied, well, sometimes a shepherd's job is to fight off the wolves. Pretty apt quote. Now these men grabbed what they had. Most of them were fowling pieces, used to hunt birds, fowling, muskets, smoothbore. There were a few rifles in the mix, but every single one of them had learned to shoot at an early age, not for the defense of their family and the defense of their community so much, but to put food on the table. They didn't hunt, they didn't eat. This country's had a long tradition of marksmanship. You know, I mean, the Marine Corps prides itself in the fact that every Marine is a rifleman first. From the lowest cook to the commanding general of the Marine Corps. World War I, World War II, marksmanship was paramount. You didn't have 30-round magazines to spray and pray. You had to hit your target. Hell, they used them 30-06. You know, 1903 Springfield was chambered in the caliber 30 of 1906 round. The M1 Garand was chambered in 30-06. BAR was chambered in 30-06. And they had sights on them that ranged out to 1,500, 1,800 meters, or yards back then. They don't stress marksmanship like they used to. I can remember as a young boy when the 4-H had a marksmanship program. Now, if you have a 4-H organization that does any kind of shooting at all, they go out to a skeet range and pop clay pigeons with a shotgun. Back in the 1940s and 50s, there were rifle ranges, small bore ranges, in the basement of a lot of schools. You'd go down and plink with a 22. But in the last 15, 20 years, I have noticed the dearth of marksmanship in the American public. And in my opinion, for what it's worth, this right here is one of the biggest reasons that marksmanship in this country has gone to hell in a handbasket. You say, there's batteries. What the hell's batteries got to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you. You can't hardly go to the range today. You can't hardly go out hunting and meet another hunter that doesn't have some kind of optic on his firearm. Don't get me wrong. You know, optics have their place. They're wonderful tools when you need them. But the use of ACOGs and red dots and, you know, they've taken all of the challenge out of shooting. People don't even know how to shoot anymore. Put the dot on the target, press the trigger, bam, you know, bullseye. Where's the challenge in that? You give that same guy that can pop 10 in the 10 ring from 100 yards with his bench rested, scoped 300 Win Mag, and you give him an iron sight 30-30 and a deer at 40 yards in the brush, and he's lost. People don't understand breath control, trigger control, sight alignment, and sight picture anymore. They don't practice them. All they want to do is get that red dot on that target as quick as possible and squeeze that trigger. Well, yeah, it does a great job. I'm not going to argue the fact that, man, it has made more people believe they are marksmen in the last 15 years than you could probably, I don't know, use all your fingers and toes counting. But I don't consider them marksmen. They get to relying on that technology. They rely on that ACOG. They rely on that red dot. They're relying on them. One thing we've learned in the last 25 years with computer technology and computers in your cars and computers in your phones, and you're constantly looking for a charging cable. You're constantly looking for some way to keep the batteries charged because you're lost without that technology. Well, I want to show you something. This right here is the rifle I use for squirrel hunting. Notice anything missing off of it? Don't have a scope. Don't have a red dot. Don't have an ACOG. Got good old iron sights. It's a 22. I don't use a shotgun for squirrel hunting. I've used a 22 for squirrel, for rabbit, for coon hunting. Always go for a headshot. Now I'm damn near 60 years old, and I can tell that my eyesight has deteriorated over the years. I could probably benefit from a scope. And if I was out in Wyoming hunting antelope, taking a 300-yard or 400-yard shot, well, yeah, I'd have a scope on my rifle. But that little 22 right there, with its little iron sights, shooting at a squirrel up in a tree, or a rabbit over in the bottom of a brush pile, I have to concentrate on what I'm doing. I have to make sure I've got a good clean shot, and it makes me a better marksman. Because I don't have any magnified scope that's going to pull him right up here close and put the crosshairs where I need to put it. I've noticed several videos here lately of our military and training situations and military in the field. They've all got optics on their rifles now. Is that a bad thing? Well, you know, not necessarily. I can see the benefit of having an optic on a combat rifle. But if that's what you're training with, and that's the only thing you know how to use, what happens on the battlefield when that rifle gets dropped and that optic gets knocked out of alignment? What happens on the battlefield when them batteries go dead and the supply truck hadn't showed up yet? And you just gave the last batteries you had out of your ruck to your buddy because his batteries on his optic was dead. Makes you think, don't it? Why aren't we teaching marksmanship anymore? And if we did get into a bad situation, call it what you want to, SHTF, you know, without rule of law, zombie apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, you going to be able to run to the store and buy batteries? Oh, I've got rechargeable batteries, you say. Fine. You've got rechargeable batteries. How many times can you recharge them before they're no good? They don't have an infinite life. What is inside them batteries? Rare earth minerals. Where do they come from? From China. Because our EPA says we can't mine for rare earth here in the States anymore. You know, it's kind of hard to put your iron sights out of commission. Yeah, that ACOG, that red dot, that magnified 3x9 or scope or whatever you got on your hunting rifle, boy, they're nice. But in my opinion, this old Patriot's opinion, kind of hard to beat the reliability and the confidence that it builds by learning how to use and being competent with Good old iron sights. Let me know what you think. Leave a message down below. Am I going to sit here and tell you that I never use a scope? No, I'm not going to tell you that. Like I said, if I'm antelope hunting out in Wyoming, if I'm trying to make a 400 yard, 500 yard shot on a target, I'll welcome that scope. But I'm not going to rely on it to be my everything and go-to all the time. You'll never see a scope on my little 22. You'll never see a scope on my 30-30 deer rifle. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine, that's your right. But let me know why you don't. I like some good discussion. Maybe you'll teach me something. If you do agree with me, share this video, pass it on. Get out, next time you go to the range, take that red dot off your pistol. Get in some practice with iron sights. Take that ACOG off of your AR platform. Get in some 50 meter, 60 meter, 100 meter practice with iron sights. You'll become more confident, and you may learn that you need some work because you're not quite as good as you thought you were. Well, folks, that's about all the old grumpy patriots, or grouchy old patriots, got for you today. Just something I wanted to put out there and let you think about. Share with your family, share with your friends, click that subscribe button. Help me grow this channel. And I guess, just like always, I'm going to wish you Godspeed in everything you do. And may Liberty's torch light your path. We'll see you next time.